off with some breaking news in from this morning, and the 19-year-old teen shot by Loveland police during a mental health crisis has died, sources have told 9 wants to know. Alexander Domina was shot by police on August the 16th and underwent 3 surgeries since that shooting back in mid-August. That shooting took place after neighbors called and requested police assistance after Domina was, quote, actively damaging the home, end quote. The Loveland officer who fired the weapon that killed Domina is currently on paid administrative leave. The city of Loveland agreed to a $3 million settlement with Karen Gardner, the elderly woman with dementia who was arrested by Loveland police last year after being accused of shoplifting. Gardner and her attorney will hold a press conference later this morning where Gardner's attorney says that there will be another big announcement in relation to the case. This settlement is expected to end Gardner's lawsuit against the city of Loveland. New developments out of Douglas County. The county school district will still require masks in schools for the time being, despite Douglas County's Republican county commissioners voting to leave the TriCounty Health Department late last night. The commissioners unanimously voted to start creating the Douglas County Health Department. The commissioners have fought their public health experts' guidance throughout the pandemic and say that a mask order for schools, that was the last straw.
Happened so quickly?
Indeed it has. Here's a quick recap. When TriCounty Health proposed a stay-at-home order last year, the Republican county commissioners in Douglas County first threatened to leave. They wrote a letter in July of 2020 giving TriCounty 1 year notice that they were leaving. But they rescinded that in November after TriCounty agreed to let counties opt out of their health orders. When TriCounty passed a mask mandate for kids in school this year, Dougco and Adams County opted out. Tri-County's board then voted to take that opt-out power away, which led to today.
A resolution withdrawing from the Tri-County Health Department.
It is very unfortunate that the actions are of our response to a pandemic have triggered this reaction and triggered Douglas County leaving.
Jennifer Ludwig is the deputy director of Tri-County Health.
To have it happen at the height of our response to COVID-19 was incredibly difficult and has added, taken away a lot of our attention that could have been spent on focused on the pandemic.
This afternoon, we got a copy of this letter sent from Arapahoe County's attorney to Dougco. It asks commissioners to slow this process down, worried that if they just leave, it might hurt the other 2 counties. And it threatens legal action if a Dougco Tri-County divorce hurts Arapahoe County. Ludwig says it very well could.
Them leaving sooner doesn't change the process that we're going through, but it could have early budget implications because if we don't have the Douglas County funding next year, somehow we have to make up that difference.
A Dougco spokeswoman told me today it's too early to tell the financial impacts on the other counties. And so the commissioners move on.
Civic Center Park will temporarily close on September the 15th, a week from today, due to what the city of Denver calls, quote, significant public health and environmental risks. The city says it needs time to clean up litter, pet waste, drug paraphernalia, and rodent burrows, all that in Civic Center Park. There's also graffiti that the city says that requires professional restoration. Denver Water announced significant lane closures on South Colorado Boulevard that started today, in fact earlier on this morning, and are expected to last about 1 month during weekday hours from Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now the big closure impacts will be that eastbound drivers on East Yale Avenue will be unable to turn left onto South Colorado Boulevard, and northbound drivers on South Colorado Boulevard will be unable to turn left onto East Yale Avenue. That's obviously a big intersection, so that could impact a lot of you out there. The closures are to replace what Denver Water says is to upgrade critical water infrastructure. Now we're getting closer and closer to the fall season, so how can you time your trip to make sure that you get those peak colors? Meteorologist Corey Ruffenhagen gives you some of these tips.
The leaves in the Colorado mountains are already turning gold in spots, but most people want to make their fall color drive during the peak. That's not really something that can be measured or verified. The peak is just the time when there are the most gold leaves covering the most area at once. Here are the average dates. The thing to keep in mind is that the leaves usually turn in the north earlier than the south, and they turn at higher elevations first. For areas between 1 and 3 hours from Denver, I usually target September 15th to the 25th, and that usually yields great pictures. The timing can be quite different from year to year, though, depending on weather conditions. This leaf season is showing signs of a slower development. Look at this photo from Guanella Pass on September 9th, 2018. This was about a week before the peak that year. And here is the very same spot today on September 7th, 2021. Almost all of the leaves are still green and nowhere near peaking. This is likely due to all the rain and snow that this part of the mountains have received since March. Healthy trees will keep their leaves longer. Areas that have been in drought conditions may see leaves turn early and the peak may be shorter. One of the big factors in my mind is the wind, which is something we haven't had much of yet this year. When these leaves start to turn, they really start to lose their grip and can just barely be hanging on here, which means a big wind event can put a quick end to the peak colors. That's what happened last year with all those big wind events we had. Here's that spot again on Guanella Pass. This was September 23rd, 2020. Look at all those patches completely stripped of leaves. If the winds stay light this September, we may have a long peak period that lasts 2 weeks or longer. Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, 9 News.
A part of the Glenwood Canyon Recreation Bike Path along Interstate 70 is back open again after July mudslides forced it to close. The portion of the path between Glenwood Springs and the Grizzly Creek rest area is open once again, along, by the way, with the rest area on I-70 itself. Now, all that originally closed on July the 30th after mudslides due to the nearby Grizzly Creek burn scar. That's also forced several closures of I-70 itself. And staying on the weather side of things, well, today it's going to be hot, and that's a little different from what we saw a year ago. We'll get to that in just a second, but today it will get up to about 90 degrees, which would mark our 54th day at 90 or above so far this year. We're expecting sunny skies, but the really big story, of course, for today will be that continued bad air quality with an air quality advisory in place throughout the entire Front Range and much of central and western Colorado. That goes until 4 o'clock today, and that will probably be extended into tomorrow as well. That is due to a combination of wildfire smoke from the northwest in California, along with some of that ground ozone. So again, poor air quality in Denver today, and that will continue for tomorrow. Tomorrow, though, we're looking at a record high, potentially with a high of 95 for tomorrow, 96 on Friday, and it cools down just a little bit into the weekend. Maybe some hints of some more significant cooler weather arriving by the middle of next week. So for those of you hoping to sip on some pumpkin spice and maybe make it feel a bit more appropriate, at least seasonally, well, wait till maybe next week. And then, of course, a year ago today, well, despite the fact that it's going to be probably into the 90s today in Denver, a year ago today, it snowed an inch in Denver, and we got down to 31 degrees. So kind of one of those tidbits that makes you reminds you a little bit that, yes, we are indeed in Colorado after all. We can go on that meteorological roller coaster ride from time to time, though looks like this week just feeling a bit more like midsummer. That'll do it for your headlines on 90s Watch on this Wednesday, September the 8th. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. I'm Chris Bianchi, and again, have a great rest of your day.